For years, Representative Ilhan Omar has styled herself as one of Washington's loudest moral referees, ready to lecture America on justice, compassion, and the proper use of government power. But this week, Omar delivered a statement so blunt, so defiant, that it left many Americans asking whether the slogan now guiding her politics is simple: enforce nothing, fund no one, and blame everyone else. In a heated showdown over federal spending ahead of the January 30 shutdown deadline, Omar vowed she would not give ICE a single cent, not a dollar, not a dime. According to Omar, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is a rogue agency operating above the law, escalating violence, and eroding basic freedoms. That's a striking claim, especially considering ICE's actual assignment is enforcing laws passed by Congress itself. Laws that, inconveniently for progressives, still exist. The irony here is impossible to ignore. While Omar portrays ICE as some shadowy force spiraling out of control, the Trump administration has publicly released names and criminal histories of individuals arrested during enforcement operations. These weren't jaywalkers. We're talking about violent offenders, repeat criminals, and even individuals convicted of child sex abuse. Yet in Omar's telling, they're the victims, and ICE is the villain. This isn't just a policy disagreement, it's a complete inversion of responsibility. ICE officers face escalating hostility on the ground, including violent confrontations from anti-ICE agitators. In one widely reported incident, federal authorities stated that an individual attempted to ram a vehicle into an ICE officer, an event that ended in tragedy. And still, Omar's response isn't to call for calm, clarity, or reform, but to cut funding entirely. Apparently, the solution to dangerous enforcement conditions is to remove resources from the people enforcing the law. That logic would be laughable if it weren't so dangerous. Omar's position also raises a larger question that many Americans are starting to ask. Who exactly is she representing? Law-abiding citizens concerned about crime and public safety? Or ideological activists who believe immigration enforcement itself is immoral, regardless of the consequences? As Congress unveiled a $1.2 trillion spending package, a so-called minibus combining four major bills, the divide became clear. Funding for Department of Homeland Security remains one of the most contentious issues in Washington. Progressives are threatening open rebellion, willing to risk another government shutdown rather than approve funds for ICE. Think about that for a moment. At a time when Americans are already frustrated with inflation, crime, and dysfunction in Washington, some lawmakers are prepared to shut down the government, not over disaster relief or military pay, but to make sure immigration laws are not enforced. Omar frames her stance as a defense of basic freedoms. But for families living in communities impacted by violent crime, freedom means something much simpler. The freedom to walk safely at night, the freedom to send children to school without fear, and the freedom to expect the law to mean what it says. The GOP argument isn't complicated. If Congress writes the laws and federal agencies enforce them, then lawmakers who oppose enforcement should change the law, not sabotage the system and then feign outrage when chaos follows. But clarity has never been Omar's strong suit. Outrage, however, is. This latest vow fits a familiar pattern: grandstanding for social media applause while offering no workable alternative. No plan for public safety, no solution for communities overwhelmed by crime. Just another viral declaration designed to provoke headlines and rally activists. And that may be the real takeaway here. Ilhan Omar isn't governing, she's performing. As the shutdown deadline approaches, Americans will see which lawmakers are willing to compromise to keep the government running, and which are willing to burn the House down to prove a political point. One thing is certain: when Omar says she won't give ICE a single cent, she's made her priorities crystal clear. The only question left is whether voters agree with them.